You're sitting there listening to the consultant explain that your MRI result has come back and it's completely clear. It's normal. There's no explanation for your pain. You've done all the exercises, you've rested, you've done everything that you're supposed to do. And this scan was supposed to explain why you're still in pain, but it doesn't. On the one hand, it's good. It rules out anything dangerous and sinister. But on the other hand, it introduces loads of fear and worry. It makes you doubt yourself and wonder, is your body lying to you? Are the doctors missing something? Well, the truth is, there's a third option. And that is exactly what this video is about. What everyone seems to miss is that the MRI is not looking at everything. It's only looking at half the problem. It's looking at your bones, your muscles, your joints, your ligaments, the discs, all of the physical stuff. But we are so much more than that. We, like any complex machine, are two systems working together as a team. Hardware and software. And the MRI is only looking at one of them. So is everyone else that you've seen. Think of your phone, for example. It's made up of two things. The hardware, like the screen, the camera, the battery, the physical components. And the software, your operating system, this invisible layer that tells every single piece of hardware what to do. For the phone to work, you need both of them working together. And crucially, when the phone stops working, the problem could be coming from one or the other. We are exactly the same. We have hardware, like the muscles, the bones, the ligaments and tendons. Everything physical that we see on those scans. But we also have software. That is our brain and nervous system. That's this invisible layer that's telling everything in our body what to do. It's calling the shots. It is our human operating system. Now let's look at an example. If someone was to faint, that could be because of a physical hardware issue, like a drop in blood pressure. But it could also be because they've seen something that scared them. Do you know anyone that faints at the sight of blood? That's a software response. That's the nervous system, not the body. It's the exact same problem, same symptom, but coming from two different causes, one in the hardware and one in the software. However, the moment that we start talking about pain, we lose this distinction completely. We dive into scans, x-rays, blood tests, hunting for the physical cause of pain. And of course, sometimes it is coming from something physical, like a medical condition, or something that's damaged, like a broken bone or a torn muscle. But it's not always in the hardware. Here's the thing. We know, and the science is crystal clear on this, the nervous system can and does generate pain in perfectly healthy parts of the body. And that pain is real. It feels like it's coming from something physical. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with our physical system. The hardware is completely healthy. And I want to share a study that illustrates this so well. In Germany, a group of researchers were investigating whiplash. They wanted to understand how much of a whiplash injury was physical or psychological. So what they did is they recruited 50 people who volunteered to sit in the driver's seat of a car as it was rear-ended. And they spent a month following them and seeing how they felt. One by one, the participants were put in the driver's seat of a car, and a secondary car was driven into the back of them. What they didn't realize is that this was a complete sham. The two cars never even touched. Instead, researchers faked the entire thing. They had someone hiding who shook that front car that the person was sitting in by hand. They played a massive crash on some speakers to make them think that the cars had hit each other. They even threw glass on the ground so that when the person got out of the car and walked away, they saw this debris. It looked like a real crash site. And 3 days after this fake car accident, 20% of the group were reporting head and or neck pain that they attributed to the crash. Pain they didn't have before, but they were experiencing now, even though the crash never happened. 1 month later, 5 people, 10% of the group, were still reporting head and or neck pain that they attributed to the crash. Real, genuine pain that couldn't have been caused by an injury because there never was one. They just believed that they'd been in a car crash. Now, I want to emphasize this point. They have not imagined this pain. This pain is 100% real. It's just not coming from a physical source, the hardware. It is entirely created in the software, in the nervous system. This isn't some wacky fringe idea. It's not alternative medicine with no research behind it. This is real neuroscience. that shows that given the right conditions, our brain and nervous system, which is wired to protect us, can and does fire off pain signals in healthy parts of the body. So if your MRI came back completely clear, that is a clue that the hardware may not be the source of your pain, and it should prompt us to look at the software. The same as if you took your phone to the Apple store and it was really glitchy. All the apps kept opening or closing. One day the battery would die, the next day it would turn itself off by itself. And they looked at every single component of your phone and said, the phone is healthy, the battery is good, the buttons are working. Naturally you would think, maybe this is a software problem. And that's why the Apple store, whatever tech store you go to, the very first thing they do is tell you to update the software, because that controls every aspect of the phone. It's the easiest thing to fix. So, up to this point, we have covered that we are complex machines made up of hardware and software. Both of them can be sources of pain. And if the MRI doesn't identify a hardware physical issue, it should prompt us to look at the software. So what does that look like? Well, unfortunately, we can't see the nervous system on an MRI. We can't see it in a blood test. We can't see it in the way that you stand, the way you move, or measuring your mobility or your strength. The only way that we can detect a problem in the nervous system and in the software is to ask very specific questions. What we're looking for is a pattern related to how the pain began, how it behaves, how it responds to treatments, and certain situations. We are looking to build an overall picture based on these key characteristics. And this is incredibly important because each one needs a very different type of treatment. And the number one reason that I see people staying stuck is because their doctor or physio ends up treating the wrong one. So let's begin with the hardware and run through key characteristics of physical pain. This plays by very clear rules. Usually it's very consistent and predictable. It follows a pattern. Typically it begins after an injury or a particular event. It can be something that we see on a scan if the pain is coming from damage. It stays in one place. If you have a problem with the hip, the pain stays in the hip. It doesn't suddenly move into the lower back and then move into the other hip or migrate up to the shoulder. It stays in the area of the physical problem. The same as if you had a problem with the camera on your phone. The camera is the only thing that would be affected. You wouldn't start getting problems with the speakers or the screen, for example. And it does not care about context. If you have a physical hardware problem, your body is the same whether it's on holiday in Spain or in London on a rainy Monday morning on its way to work. The body is the same in both of those two different environments, so we would expect the pain to behave the same. Now, software pain, on the other hand, is different. It behaves differently, and in many ways, it behaves in the absolute opposite to what we just went through. It can move and spread and appear in different, multiple areas of the body. It can begin completely without cause, especially at a difficult or stressful time in your life. Scans, x-rays, blood tests can come back clear because there's nothing physically, structurally, medically wrong. It can be unpredictable. Something can feel absolutely fine one day and then incredibly painful the next. And it could be manipulated by context. It can be made worse by stress, or it can be improved or even disappear when you're doing something fun or distracting. If your pain is the same Monday to Friday when you're at work, but then vanishes the moment you go on holiday, even though you're doing all of the same things. You've spent 4 hours sitting in a cramped Ryanair seat. You've been lugging suitcases in and out of taxis, but all of a sudden your back pain's gone. That is a clear indicator that context, your environment, is having an impact on it, not the physical things that you're doing. If you're listening to this and are resonating with all of the points that I'm making, everything I'm saying are the things that you've spent years telling the doctors and the physios. They just haven't paid that much attention. That's not a coincidence. This is a diagnostic pattern. It's just not the one that they've been taught to look for. And this should be incredibly comforting because we can't fix a nervous system problem with injections, exercises, stretches, all the things that you've probably been doing. But it 100% can be fixed. We just need to make sure that our treatment is targeting the right thing. We can't fix a software problem by replacing the battery. We need to do a software update. In other words, a software problem needs a software solution. Now, the next question, the obvious question, is what does that actually look like? How do we address the software in practice so that we can eliminate this pain and get back to moving freely and get back to playing the sport that you love? Well, I've put all of that into a video which I will link up here. And inside I will walk you through the exact process step by step, showing you the science-backed way to target the nervous system and eliminate this pain at source. This is what I do day in, day out with my one-on-one clients. And if the pain is coming from the nervous system, this is your path back to moving freely and playing sport. But before I go, I want to leave you with this. A clear scan is not a dead end. It's not doctors saying there's nothing wrong with you. It's scientific evidence that says your pain may not be coming from something physical. And this should prompt us to look at the nervous system. And in truth, that is an incredibly important step to eliminating this pain.